Okay then, Ed, so I think, the main thing that this is all about is disclosure of information that you've become aware of in your, long career and all the things you've been exposed to. And for my part of it, as I've said on various interviews that I've done on various places, I discovered the Disclosure Project in 2003, and that was 2 years after it had happened. And this to me was a big event. It was an important event, and I'd never heard about it. I thought it was so important it should have been on our television news. We never saw it in this country. I know it got a bit of exposure in the US. So Stephen Greer, he did this Disclosure Project, and he interviewed all these military witnesses. So the obvious question then that arises that, you were working in the military, you were in the Air Force and so on. How come you weren't a disclosure witness as part of the Disclosure Project? Which I've got my own. That's
an interesting story. I met Peter Gerstrin, Greer, Stephen Greer, and Stephen Bassett in Laughlin. And this was long before they had put the Disclosure together. And they told me their ideas about the Disclosure Project and this and that. And we had spent quite a bit of time together. And I basically went in quite a bit detail about different programs and my feelings about the secret government and the National Security Agency and the Flying Triangle, which they were taking notes furiously. And I think it kind of developed them a sense of the bigger picture, what they were going for in the Disclosure Project. And years later, Stephen Greer told me, he said, you opened a lot of doors for us, because had you not come out and disclosed with your impeccable credentials, most of the people that volunteered to disclose knew who you were. And the fact that, you were harassed, but you didn't end up in jail or dead. But at some point towards the end that we spent together, they asked me to be on the Disclosure Project. In fact, they wanted to make me a key figure. And I said, my health and my wife's health's not good enough to where we're going to be traveling much in the future. I said, I just want to get the truth out there, and then I don't want to be part of a ufology or ufology circus, and I don't want to, spend the rest of my life promoting books and telling the same story over and over again like some of them do. And Peter Gerstrin basically alluded kind of a veiled threat that he could subpoena me. And I said, well, good luck on that, because I live in the state of Texas. None of your people live in the state of Texas. I said, so if you file a subpoena for me out of the state and it's not a civil lawsuit or a criminal lawsuit, I said, there's absolutely no standing in Texas courts to where you could compel me to talk to you. And I said, besides, I've stuck my neck out enough and put myself and my family at risk enough to where it's time for you guys to go out and beat the bushes and find more people that are willing to talk. And because I'm done.
That's interesting, that he would actually try and threaten you to partake in further, things that they wanted to do.
Well, I will have to say this. I have the highest respect and regard for Stephen Bassett. Stephen Greer, pretty much the same. I don't understand why Stephen Greer has branched off into some of the things he's branched off in that are esoteric. But only he knows that. But I totally was supportive of the idea and the development of the Disclosure Project, and I helped them as much as I could as far as names or places to look or FOIAs to file and information they'd never even heard of. So I did my part. I just wasn't willing to do it full time.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just mention that I've changed my view of Stephen Greer quite a lot in the last few years, but mainly to do with the energy disclosures, which I've written about on my website. So people can perhaps check that out if they wish to do that. you know, we've already talked about the 1998 presentation in the video. We've mentioned that quite a few times, and again, I recommend people get to watch that. And I'll try and repost it as well with Ed's permission, so that there's a copy out there somewhere for you to watch. And some of your physical appearance is quite different, and people, I think you were just saying there a few minutes ago that people have commented that you had a beard then, you haven't got one now, and it's, you know, a couple of years ago you had a beard again, and your appearance seemed to have changed, and you know, so I just wondered what sort of things you've been saying to people about that.
When I retired from the military, I had undiagnosed, out of control diabetes, to the point to where I think it was 1989. I ended up in the hospital in the emergency room. I thought I'd had the flu, so I was drinking lots of orange juice and juices, which has lots of sugar in it, and my blood sugar level was like 900. They'd never seen anybody alive that walked in the hospital on their own with that high of blood sugar. So my weight had gained over like a 10-year period. I put on like a pound or two a month, and I ended up like 160 pounds heavier than I had been, for example, in high school and college football and most of my military career. So eventually, over the years, I've gone from, say, 385 pounds down to about 235 now. And so when you see the old videos of me, that was me being very heavy because of the out-of-control diabetes. And then at some point, they came up with a formulary insulin that I wasn't allergic to. And I didn't really change my diet that much. I was just more meticulous about not eating carbs or sugars. And then over a period of time, I lost the weight, and I went from a full beard and a lot more hair and, to a goatee for a number of years. And now I've got less hair on top and less hair on my face. So I've had people saying that, well, I can't be the same guy, you know, this guy's huge, you got a full beard, and this guy's so much skinnier. And I've had people post many places. Actually, you can search Edgar Fouche or Ed Fouche dead, and there's a lot of people saying that I was killed by the government or I died in a car accident. So it's quite interesting to see the comments that may have seen me on TV back in the 90s versus currently.
Well, of course, I've had sort of similar things in a small way, because I've been accused of being a woman. You know, I've been accused of being Judy Wood, so, you know, so we're kind of in the similar boat there.
Well, I don't see any resemblance to any kind of woman. You have a very masculine voice.
Well, indeed, I would feel very sorry for a woman that resembled me. Very sorry indeed. But I wanted to know, just look at, you know, perhaps going into a more sort of philosophical territory now. First question then is, you know, do you regret coming forward with your disclosures, and what your thoughts were on what you've been through? Just overall thoughts.
If I had everything to do over again, I would not have disclosed. I probably would have written a book, because that's what my friends wanted. They want to get the information out there. I would have come out with Alien Rapture or a version of it, like the long version I originally wrote, to get the information out there. But as far as public speaking, disclosing, being a whistleblower, I would not have put my family. I'm pretty thick-skinned, and I don't get paranoid. So if I'd been single, I might have to some extent. But if I had it all to do over again, and was still married to Rebecca when I did it, I would not have put her or any of my other family at risk, or it's not worth it. And I see why a lot of people, on one hand, are compelled to disclose and talk about these suppressed secrets, but I can also understand people that have pensions and government pensions or military pensions and health care, why they're very afraid to come out and disclose.
Yes. You know, overall sort of thoughts then for the future, and just, you know, general reflection on all of this.
Well, I'm willing to talk to anybody that doesn't have a hidden agenda, that wants to talk about what I did or what I know or even my opinions. I have deliberately stayed away from talking about UFOs and aliens because I've never seen an alien, never had a friend that's seen an alien, or I've had lots of friends that have seen UFOs, or a few that's even seen triangles, but I steered clear from a lot of topics that I know very little about because I don't want to be one of these people that's an expert on everything to do with ufology.
So Ed, one of the questions I'd had earlier, which was sort of answered for me when I received the updated manuscript that you'd kind of let me see, and this was the issue that I think you'd used a nom de plume, like a pseudonym, kind of, not exactly, and you'd called yourself Edgar Rothschild Fouche, and I understand this has since caused a bit of grief. So if you could explain about that.
Yes. Well, apparently we have a Rothschild in the woodshed in our family tree, and it was on my grandmother's side of the family, and they were basically poor farmers in Illinois. And Brad thought, when I mentioned that, he thought that that'd be a good pen name and or nom de plume, and that probably attract attention, and boy, did it attract attention, and it was all negative. It was all negative. So I've never known a Rothschild. The only one I ever heard about was on my grandmother's side way back there were farmers, and my real name is Edgar Albert Fouche. Obviously not Rothschild. I've regretted that from the moment it was suggested. So I don't think it sold any extra books, but it probably caused a few people to burn them.
Well, exactly, judging by what I've heard as well. It's so it's just one of those things, I suppose. It's everything's clear in hindsight, as is said.
Yes, absolutely. It was a huge mistake on my part.
So I'd like to thank you for your time in going through all this stuff with me, all the information, and really it's just to say thank you again, and encourage people to check out everything that we've been talking about using the links we're going to post. Yes,
I really have enjoyed your interviewing me and working with you. You're very kind and professional, and I thank you also. And I'm looking forward to the result.
Great.